Hi guys, this is just a video to help you with lesson 2 with regards to descriptive writing, and for this lesson you should download lesson 2 PowerPoint on Daymap, and you'll also need to download the examples from literature Word document from Daymap, and finally the activity sheet known as identifying tone and mood activity. So please go ahead and do that and be ready to follow along. Now, in terms of this PowerPoint, what you want to begin with is to make sure that you have downloaded those examples, which I have put here in terms of an image. You will use both of these to complete the activity for today. As a class, we're going to reflect and draw upon our discussion last lesson from Henry Lawson's The Drover's Wife. Students who are online are asked to attempt to complete this table by themselves, but those in class will complete it together as a class and brainstorm. Just to explain this table, which is available in the Word document, what you're looking to do for each of the examples from literature is to think about what tone the author has used based on the words that they have created, what is the mood that the reader is meant to think and feel then as a result. And the activity is to help you understand that this is established through anything from when the story is set in terms of time, so what words or descriptions help us understand that, what words are then used to describe the setting and place, and what action words or verbs are used within the piece, along with adjectives which are describing words and nouns which are descriptive words. So go ahead and look at The Drover's Wife once more from last lesson and consider what words or phrases have been used. When you're ready, just simply click over to the next slide as we have some examples from it. So here in class we'll complete this table. Okay, but here are some answers. So if we work backwards, we can somewhat understand that if you read the entire story, that it's potentially set at nighttime because it gives this eerie feeling of a snake attacking the drover's wife and children. So we have potentially nighttime based on the imagery. More specifically, we understand that there's a sense of, claustrophobic nature or feeling of entrapment because it's a two-roomed house built of round timber with bush all around, no horizon, 19 miles from civilization. We have key words such as nothing to relieve, sighing, dashing, snatches, reaches. So there's a sense of urgency in some of these verbs that are described as the mother snatches her baby off the floor, but then reaches for the stick. And then we have some nice adjectives that are stingy bark, big bark, stunted, rotten, nothing, waterless, shanty road, ragged, dried up, gaunt, sunbrown. And then we have a number of descriptions or nouns relating to snake, bushwoman, drover, ex-squatter, road, creek, she-oaks, undergrowth, and bark. And from this, and hopefully already discussed from last lesson, we've understood that the tone is heavy because it's a serious subject. It creates suspense because we're left not knowing what happens between the mother and the snake and the child. And it's very determined, though, in terms of the mother's actions. So that's how the tone is established through the characters' descriptions and what they do. For you, the reader, although you might be quite calm when it comes to snakes, I certainly am not, but we get a sense that because of the description of the setting, that we know that this is a very lonely life that the drover's wife lives as she waits for her husband to return from working with the sheep and cattle. But it's also foreboding because there's a sense of dread as to whether or not her and her baby will be safe. So hopefully you've achieved something along those lines, or just had a good think about how setting in terms of where it is set and the words that are used have informed your tone and mood analysis. Now, in terms of completing the next task, I want to make it clear that it would be nice if a student was to achieve all 6. However, even if you were to attempt 2 of your own choosing, this is a great way to reflect on how you would then read any excerpt to establish their tone and mood. And what we're hoping to do, like last lesson, is to read the excerpt or listen to me read it, think about the emotions that are associated and which words and phrases evoke that emotion. That is so you are then able to, after choosing your selected piece, so for instance, Anne of Green Gables or 1984, or if you wish to begin with a somewhat beginner approach, read The Lion, Witch and the Wardrobe and The Night is for Hunting. Or if you want a little bit more advanced and to challenge yourself, read the excerpt from The Hobbit or Wuthering Heights. If you want a medium, read the first two, which are 1984 and Anne of Green Gables. But what you're hoping to do is to read this excerpt, then go to the chart and have a go at filling it out. Okay, the answers will be released the very next lesson, but for this activity, we won't be going through every one, but would like you to have a go independently, which you would then upload to Daymap, having had a go at least recognizing the setting in terms of time, place, the verbs that are used, adjectives and nouns, knowing that you don't have to write down every example, but 2 or 3 would be nice within each. So if you follow along with the PowerPoint, you'll see that for each one we have it here. You have the questions, and you might simply like to read it yourself and search for those examples or listen to me. Anne of Green Gables by L.M. Montgomery. Chapter 4. Morning at Green Gables. It was broad daylight. Okay. And you'll see that for each of these, as you go across, there's a little audio cue. So feel free to click and listen. Just for context, Anne of Green Gables is clearly from the perspective of Anne. And I want you to think about how she clearly either has a reaction to Green Gables in terms of it being a place where she doesn't want to be, but she has to exist. 1984 is a very serious classic text about government surveillance. So think about how the tone and mood is established. You might actually be familiar with the tone or the idea of Big Brother being someone who oversees everything we do. The Lion, Witch and the Wardrobe is a classic C.S. Lewis, anthology or series, which creates a sense of wonderment. So think about that in terms of Mr. Tumnus and the description of entering the Lion, Witch and the Wardrobe or Narnia and the reaction there in terms of the friendly nature. We then have The Night is for Hunting, which is a novel from the Tomorrow When the War Began series, which has a sense of or tone of serious survival, but also determination. So think about what words and phrases and actions are used there. We then have The Hobbit, which is a classic fantasy novel. Think about how it creates a tone of wonderment and fantasy, but more importantly, the sense of the hobbits being very privileged and what mood that creates in terms of a relaxed and welcoming atmosphere as we, the reader, enter the hobbit home of Bilbo Baggins. Then, of course, Wuthering Heights, which can be a bit advanced, and you'll see that this is very list-like. It's a classic text, but as we have the narrator entering Wuthering Heights, how the key descriptions create a sense of, enclosure and warmth, but also at the same time, interestingly, set a mood of uncertainty because there's almost no one around but many objects there. Okay. So once again, a reminder is that online students, I would like you to choose 2 or 3. Usually we would break you into groups and have you have a go at one or each and then share it. But for this instance, simply pick 2 and have a go at filling out the Word document. Okay. Remembering that you do have the Word document here to help you find and scan and even copy and paste keywords or phrases. Okay. And as a class, or rather as a teacher online, we will check these before next week. And this is simply to help you show us your understanding of tone and mood, but also be aware as to how certain words and phrases would influence that. If you want a bit of an extension activity, you can go back and look at your 2 examples and using the highlighter tool or simply comment, try and find examples as to where the author has specifically drawn upon sight, sound, smell, taste, or touch, or use one of the many figurative language or POPSMAS examples to create that tone and then influence your mood. We'll be looking at zooming in and zooming out at another instance, but just also consider how some of these excerpts focus in on a key action or moment or thought, only then to zoom out and return back to this overall story. So that's just a little extension task, okay? Remember, we're only expecting you to complete 1 or 2 and upload to Daymap. There is no right or wrong answers for this activity. It's just to show your understanding in the build up to you then writing your own descriptive piece where you will consider what words and phrases you would use based on setting, character action, and thought and description to create a certain tone that would influence the mood of your piece. So make sure you upload that to Daymap. Thank you.